happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. We are going to do some yoga tonight. I'm Jennifer. I'm the owner of Auburn Yoga and Pilates, and I am glad that you are joining me tonight. So let's get started. So we'll start off in a comfortable seated position, whatever that feels like for you. It may help to elevate your hips by sitting on a folded blanket or a pillow. You want to lift up through the top of your head really, really tall, and then allow your shoulders to relax down away from your ears. Inhaling through your nose, all the air you can fit, and then exhaling slowly out your mouth. And again, inhaling through your nose, all the air you can fit. Exhaling slowly out your mouth. And one more time, inhaling through your nose, all the air you can fit. Exhaling slowly out your mouth. Now, trying to keep this breath, except changing it a little. We're going to change it to a purely nostril breath if you can. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose, but still keeping that depth of breath that you just had. As you inhale, you want to feel your belly move away from your spine, your chest move away from your spine, as your torso really feels like it's expanding. And then as you inhale, you can take it back in, letting that air release. And then trying to think of something that you would like to manifest into your day. And I've been saying, since we're doing these at night, maybe it's something you literally want to manifest into your day today, or maybe it's something that you'd like to manifest into your tomorrow. Either way, what is it? Don't judge yourself for choosing something silly. Honor yourself. What really did come to you and kind of stays with you. And then trying to create a picture in your mind of what it looks like when you have it. So literally painting the scene. Where are you? Who are you with? Are you inside? Are you outside? And then continuing to add more detail, making it as realistic as possible. What do you smell? What do you hear? Is there anything that you're touching? If there is, how does that feel? Is there anything that you're tasting? If there is, how does that taste? And then really getting comfortable with having what you said you need more of. And sitting here in that place for 2 minutes. Sit here for 2 minutes in a little seated meditation. And deepening your breath, bringing yourself back into the room. Switching the cross of your legs and starting to circle your spine. Waking up those energy centers in your back. And then switch direction. Trying to move between spinal extension and spinal flexion. And then holding it in the center, bringing it into an all fours position. If you have sensitive knees, feel free to pad your knees. Lining up your wrist creases so they're parallel to the short end of the mat. Let that pelvis spill down toward the floor. Coming into a back bend, pressing your heart center forward. Trying to expand the front body. And then expand the back body. Root down through your knuckles and your fingertips. And move between cat and cow. And then holding a neutral spine. Now, if you need a little bit more room to be able to comfortably step your foot forward, then grab a hold of some blocks and put your hands on those blocks. Or you can simply step a leg forward, curl the back toe under, lift the back knee, step the other leg forward, coming into a forward fold. So if your hamstrings or your back are feeling tight, you can put your hands on those blocks or small blocks. Inhale, heart forward, head forward. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, sweep those arms up to the ceiling, standing nice and tall, rooting down through those feet. Drop those hands by your side. So really trying to root down through those feet, literally and metaphorically. You're thinking about getting all four corners of both feet to connect with the floor. And then you're imagining that you're really growing roots, so it's very stable. Then inhale those arms up and connect those hands together. So fingers drop down except for that pointer finger, keeping those up. And if this hand variation isn't comfortable, anyone will do. Now root down firmly through your feet. Grow really tall at the same time. So your feet are rooting down, but your knees, your quadriceps, your ribs, your waist, everything else is lifting. Top of the head, and then come over to the right side for a lateral stretch. Trying to stretch through that side body. Trying to keep your shoulders squared to whatever wall you are facing. Come up to center. Exhale those arms down. Inhale them right back up. And again, interlacing those fingers, except for the pointer finger, grow really, really, really tall. And then come over to the left side. You decide how deep you want this lateral stretch to go. Coming up to center, and then dropping those arms down and stepping out wide on your mat. Toes and knees pointing out a little bit, and bring those arms up to diagonals so that you basically look like a five-pointed star. If your legs, your arms, and your head were each representative of a point. Now from here, coming into sunflowers, we're going to basically come into a little plie squat. And as we do, we're going to bend the arms and draw the elbows back toward the back of the rib cage. And then come back up, arms at diagonal, lengthen those legs. So inhaling tall and exhaling down. You move at your own breath, no specific pace. So just heating up the body. And holding it up. Taking those arms down, paralleling those feet. Now you may end up wanting a block if you have one. You can set it up behind your right leg somewhere. Now, externally rotating your right leg, of course, I'm mirroring you. You want a heel to arch alignment. So the heel of the leg that you just externally rotated bisects that back arch. Now move this heel, your left heel, a little closer to the short end of the mat. Square the ribs toward the long wall. lengthen those arms, reach over, coming into triangle. So this is a pose where you may have seen people do it with their hand in front rather than behind. I learned it with the hand behind because oftentimes bringing the hand in front will cause you to be less two-dimensional. You want to do this pose imagining that you're standing between two panes of glass where there isn't really that much room between the panes of glass. So you're not totally flat, but you are fairly two-dimensional. You're stacking wrist over wrist, and you're trying to keep length in both your upper torso and your lower torso. A lot harder to keep it in the lower torso. Think about moving your right sitting bone toward that left inner arch. So triangle is a bit of a hip opener. It is a lateral stretch. You may feel some hamstring or inner thigh sensation. Now root down through those feet, come up, parallel those feet, and then trying the same thing on the other side. So externally rotating that left leg, heel to arch alignment, and then take that heel a little closer to the short end of the mat. When you do that, you may find that all of a sudden your ribs are no longer squared to the wall you are facing. So try to adjust that if you can. Lengthen those arms. Stand nice and tall and really feel that waist on both sides elongate. Reach over and come into that triangle pose. So as you're here, you're thinking about trying to roll your lower hip forward. You're engaging the quadricep in that back leg to try to roll this hip back slightly. It's not that it goes back per se, it doesn't go behind you, but you're thinking about being more two-dimensional. If you feel like you can't shorten your lower waist and that you are moving your left sitting bone toward the inner arch of your right foot, another strategy is to widen your feet. People tend to do this with too narrow of a stance, so you can also try just taking those legs a little bit further apart. And then take that upper hand down, root down through those feet, and lift up, and parallel your feet again. So, coming back into that original stance, we're going to externally rotate that right leg, move that heel back, but this time we are going to come into a modified side angle pose. So we're actually going to lunge, rest that arm just over the knee. Now you can keep your hand on the hip, or you can reach it straight up. Now, in an ideal world, you'd have a 90-degree angle at that front knee. That's tough, so that may or may not happen. Go to what feels like a working pose for you, but not overwhelming. Now, if you want to add a little sensation, you can internally rotate that upper arm and then reach the arm by your ear. It should be that your palm ends up facing the floor. You're trying to make a nice long line from that ankle through that wrist. And take that arm back, coming up, paralleling those feet, and then doing the same thing on the other side. So externally rotating that left leg, heel to arch alignment, bend, Come as close to 90 degrees as you comfortably can. Take that elbow just over your knee and come into that modified side angle. And now internally rotating that arm, if you'd like, reaching it by your ear really long. If you have existing shoulder issues, this may be a pose that you want to avoid, at least the arm variation portion of it. And taking that arm back to your hip, lengthening that leg and paralleling your feet this time. From here, coming into a wide leg forward fold. So taking those hands down toward the floor, and you may find that you need to widen your stance or narrow your stance a bit. Make sure your feet are fully in contact with the floor and that you're not rolling to the insides of your feet. If you feel comfortable, allow the top of your head to fall in the direction of the floor, and maybe your hands walk back with your fingertips pointing forward. Optional. Walk those hands forward, and now walking your hands toward your left foot. Now maybe you get all the way there, maybe you do not. So you can probably imagine this if you were in a seated position, commonly done when you are seated. It's the same pose, just standing. It's like you're trying to fold your torso over that right leg. And then walking your hands through the center over to the other side, same thing. It's like you're folding over that leg. Bringing it back to the center. And then walking those feet in so that they are above hip distance apart. Heart forward, head forward. Fold forward and inhale, sweeping those arms up. Exhaling those arms down. Now inhaling those arms up. Exhaling those arms about halfway down and bending them so that there's approximately a 90-degree bend at each elbow. Now, from here, I'll just turn sideways so that you can see what I'm doing. Is you want to draw those elbows back. Squeeze your upper back and open your front body. So try to make this an active chest opener. How active? Up to you. Okay, this is where a lot of people say, I didn't realize I was so tight in my front body until I do this. That you really feel like you're cracking yourself open. Of course, if it's painful, don't do it. But chances are it's just maybe a little bit of a surprise of the sensation that you actually get. And then inhale the arms back up, exhale them down. And now facing the short end of that mat. And standing here, nice and tall. And inhale, sweeping those arms up. Exhale, sweeping those arms down. Heart forward, head forward, fold forward. Take a big step back with the right leg. Now, you can be lower than this. You can go as close to 90 degrees as you want at your front knee. That's tough. I'm in a more modified version. You can modify even more by maybe a little shorter stance. Coming up into a lunge. Now, ideally, all the toes are pointing straight ahead. Back leg's pretty long, front leg's pretty bent, front knee's over the front ankle. Now, twist toward that front leg. You can spread those arms out, or you can put a hand on your hip. Come back to center. Come back down. Drop the back knee. Pat it if you need to. Now, some of you will be more comfortable with a block under your right shoulder. It's not necessary, but maybe it's helpful. From here, once again, twisting toward that bent leg, placing your hand on your hip, or reaching it up to you. Sweep that arm down. Now from here, take both hands up the leg. Trying to position your shoulders so that they come approximately back over your hips if you can. Get heavy through those hips, but keep that front knee over that front ankle. If you're comfortable doing so, reach those arms up. So stretching that hip flexor in the front of the back leg. And dropping those hands down. Now this is another one that blocks are not necessary, but they are helpful. So from here, I'm going to position my blocks and I'm going to put them on the high height because from past experience, I know that this is helpful to me. From here, curl that back toe under. Now you can stay here, or maybe you can lift that back leg and try to get that leg as parallel to the floor as possible. Now, you want to try to keep your hips squared to the floor in this variation, so maybe you have to think about pointing your lifted knee and your lifted toes toward the floor. And then drop that leg down, coming into a forward fold. You can use blocks or not use blocks. And I'm just going to turn myself around. You can inhale, heart forward, head forward. Exhale, fold forward. And then taking a giant step back with that left foot this time. All the toes point straight ahead. Your back heel is up. From here, come up into a lunge position. Front knee shouldn't go past that front toe. Twist toward that front leg. You want to make it easier. Shorten your lever, put that back hand down. Lifting up through the crown of the head as you lunge through that front leg. taking those hands forward, bringing them down, dropping that knee. Again, a block under the left shoulder may or may not be helpful to you. Either way, that left shoulder is directly below that left wrist is directly below the left shoulder, like a plumb line. And then twist and reach. And bringing it down, walking those hands up the leg. Heavy through the hips. And if you're comfortable, sweep the arms up. Exhale, sweep those hands down to the floor or to something that's going to give you a little bit of height on this next one. Curl the toe under, lift the back leg. You can hold it here or you can come up into that 3-point balance. And then bringing that leg down into a forward fold. Inhale, heart forward, head forward. Exhaling, fold forward. Inhale, sweep those arms up. Exhale those arms down. Now, this next one, if you have existing knee issues, you're going to want to modify it. Even if you don't have existing knee issues, you may need to use a prop to be able to do it. So I'm going to use a fairly thick folded blanket. And I'm not sure if it's better to do the front view or the side view for you first. Still getting used to this camera thing. But I'll try the side view. So now, some people can put their feet fairly close together. I tend to go into a hip distance or maybe just a little bit more than hip distance variation. And I'm not sure how high my heels will need to be today. So since I'm giving you the side view first, I'm gonna plan accordingly and give myself a lot of height. So from here, you're going to go into a very low squat here. So if you're able to, you can put those inside elbows against the inside knee. Ideally, the toes stay forward facing, but sometimes they do turn out a little. And the goal here is to be able to do this with your heels on the floor. But sometimes that doesn't happen. So this is where some folded towel or blanket is often of benefit. So sometimes people say this is a stretch through their Achilles. It's actually, if you have no existing knee issues, it's supposed to be good for the knees because the deep flexion is supposed to encourage circulation. And then bringing those hands down, lengthening those legs, and heart forward, head forward, fold forward. Inhale, take those arms up. Exhale those arms down, coming into a seated position. So, finding a seated position, locating those sitting bones. Now, from here, lots of variations that you can do. We're going to do Navasana, which is boat pose, which, if you do it with extended legs, very challenging. But you can do bent legs holding on. If you're starting off, you're literally just going to roll to the back of those sit bones, lift your heart and hold it here. Or you could come here, here, or here. You choose. And rest. We'll try another one, but we'll give it a couple breaths in between. So engaging those abdominals, pulling them back toward the spine, engaging the front of those legs, using them to help extend the legs, coming back into some form of boat. And coming down. Okay. Now, bending those legs. So, how close or how far you put your feet is entirely up to you. Bringing those feet toward the midline, those knees toward the midline. Now, from here, simply twisting to the right. Keep squeezing those legs toward the midline. Lifting up through the top of your head. You decide how much twist you want to put into this pose. So really firmly press on that outside leg, or just do so gently. And then twist the other way. Again, really trying to lengthen that spine. It might be tempting to slouch. Try not to do that. Bringing it back to center. And then coming into a supine position on that mat with those legs bent and those feet planted. Walking those heels in so that they are relatively close to your hips. Your feet are hip joint distance apart and parallel to each other. And then just reaching those arms vertical, putting all the weight on that upper back and across the back of the shoulders. Lift those hips for a bridge. So you can do a little bridge or you can do a higher bridge depending on how strong you are feeling. I went on my first bike ride, outdoor bike ride of the season today. And my legs know that it's the first outdoor bike ride of the season today. Dropping it down, resting, we'll do one more. again, very same thing. Engage those gluteals, those hamstrings, ground down through those feet. And lift those hips. And drop those hips down. Now, from here, taking those knees out wide. So coming into a supine butterfly pose. If this bothers your hips or your knees, you could place blocks or pillows under the outside of your legs. But just allowing those legs to drop down in the direction of the floor. And then bringing those feet flat to the mat. Taking your right leg, crossing it over, flexing that foot. Externally rotating that inside leg, coming into a supine hip stretch. You can clasp those hands behind your hamstrings. Some people can grab their shin. You could also use a strap if you need some extra space. Keeping that inside foot flex, bring that pinky toe in the direction of the knee. And drop it down, switch sides. Externally rotate, flex that foot, pull it in. And release, and bringing yourself into a place for final relaxation. So maybe you want a prop for under your legs, or maybe you're fine just laying supine on your floor. You want to allow your arms to fall by your side. Your palms facing upward. You want to relax your entire body. Exhale and literally imagine that you're like melting into a cloud. And without trying to change it, just notice your breath. Hopefully it is deep, fluid, and calm. Hopefully it matches what you're feeling. Hopefully you are feeling calm. remembering that you can return to this place. Take a snapshot of it. And call upon it anytime you need that stability, that calm. And then beginning to wiggle your fingers and your toes. And eventually bending those legs, planting those feet. Once again, that idea of being grounded. As you feel ready, eventually rolling to one side and coming to a seated position. Coming into a few seated cat and cows. And sitting up nice and tall, bringing those hands to heart center. The light within me salutes the light within you. Namaste. So again, happy Mother's Day to all the moms. If you know a mom who might like to do this, please share with her. Please comment and like. It lets me know that you're there. Everyone's been fairly quiet this week, so I'm wondering if I've been here alone or if there's just the couple people who commented that are out there. And subscribe to our YouTube page. We'll be back tomorrow, so take care. Have a good one.